Yo, what's good, everybody? It's time for another tier list, and this one is going to be hand traps for the January 2024 format. Um, I don't think this should change very much after what's called Maze of Millennia in 2.5 weeks, but after the next set, which is, I forget, Phantom Nightmare or whatever it is, I think we might have to revisit this. So, but for now, I think this is going to be a pretty solid tier list to use when deciding what hand traps you want to incorporate in, and what should kind of just stay out or stay in your hand trap binder for now. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump on in with the obvious Ash Blossom. Every deck like this has been the same since ever since basically Tierlament was, tier 0. Like, that was the last time Ash wasn't played, but for the last year and a half we've had Ash in every deck, and I think that's here to stay. Okay, Ghost Bell is actually kind of moved up since last format, and that's because of Labyrinth being more prominent. And Ghost Bell is actually really solid against Labyrinth because it can be used against Big Welcome Labyrinth, and Big Welcome summons from deck or graveyard, and therefore Ghost Bell can be used as a counter to Big Welcome. So this is going to be kind of nice and kind of a solid option. And also, if I'm not mistaken, let me double check, but Wanted also searches from the graveyard. Yeah, add 1 D-Bell star from your deck or graveyard. So Ghost Bell also works against Wanted. So therefore, I think Ghost Bell is a generic and solid option. It's kind of like a backup Ash Blossom because it hits Big Welcome and it hits Wanted just like Ash does. Ash obviously hits a little bit more, and against other decks it's going to be good, but I think Ghost Bell is actually a really solid option in this coming format. So dig those back out, pick up your set of Ghost Bells if you don't already have them. Bystials, I think, will pretty much forever be in the side for specific matchups section. Okay, so I think Bystials, when they're good, they're the best hand traps in the game, but they can be dead against a lot of stuff. And if you're playing in a meta that's full of fire attribute decks like Fire Kings, Rescue Ace, and whatever else, Bystials are just not going to be great unless you're playing like an actual Bystial deck, Bystial Runic, Dragon Link, whatever. That's a separate kind of option. In those, the Bystials are engine, not hand traps, but when you're using them as hand traps, they should go in the side deck for sure. This one is what, Contact C? Or is this Retaliating C? I'm a little bit lacking here. I believe this is Contact C. Yeah, Contact C. So in this particular meta, this one is not going to be that great because SP is in every extra deck, even the branded extra decks, honestly. So you can summon Contact C, but there might be an out, and there's probably an out in every deck, a generic out where anyone can use the Contact C to go into SP Little Knight, and Contact C kind of for the foreseeable future is not going to be relevant whatsoever. DD Crow is also kind of back down here in the not worth it section. This was kind of a niche hand trap option against Unchained. It was kind of nice, but against Lab, against Rescue Ace, against Fire King, it's kind of so-so, and I don't think it's worth a slot in your main deck or side deck unless you're playing something something that uses Shurag and can search a single copy of DD Crow, or if you're playing Floowandereeze, you might want to play a single one when it's searchable. Those are niche situations, but generally not worth it. All of this Psyframe stuff also going to be in the not worth it section. Gamma, obviously, if it was at 3, it would be in probably here or here, as it always is. Gamma is one of the best hand traps of all time, but Gamma's at 1, and it's not worth playing the 1 Gamma, 1 driver, nor 1 Gamma plus 2, Epsilon or Delta or whatever, and 1 driver. I don't think it's worth playing. The brick right now, there's not really any spell cards that are so game-breaking where you need to play the spell negate to out them, and it's just not worth playing this package. Spooky Dogwood can be in your side deck if you want, or it's not worth it. If you're playing a Runic deck, I think it should go in the side. But if you're not playing a runic deck, then you're probably not going into time very often, and therefore it's not worth the side slot. So it kind of depends on what you're playing. I'll put it inside for specific matchups, specifically for those runic players, okay? Droll, I think, is going to go up here as well. It's going to get a little bit better once Bonfire comes out, because that's just another search that Droll will be able to stop or respond to. But for now, aside for specific matchups, I think it's going to be solid. Like, Droll is not that great against Rescue Ace. It's not that great against Fire King. It's really good against Manatium, though. So when you're playing against those heavy combo decks like Manatium, having the Droll in the side is going to be kind of nice, just in case just so you don't get like FTK'd by those mega combo decks. I do like Droll in most side decks. Shifter is going to be kind of like an every deck thing. Generally, like every deck that can play it should play Shifter. I think still, Shifter is going to be good against all of the fire stuff, Rescue Ace, Fire King, all the Snake Eye stuff. All that is going to be kind of weak to Shifter. It's not that great against Labyrinth, but you know, it's better than nothing still. So I do think that Shifter, if you can play it, should go in your deck. Valor is, I think it's down here. Last format it was up here because it was good against Isolde and against Turbulence, but now that Isolde is gone and Turbulence is not that great, or not as prominent, like we still have Fire Kings, we still have some Rescue Ace, so Valor is still solid, but it's not like every deck must play it. So I think it does go in generic and solid, but I think I might even want to play Ghost Bell instead of Valor, just because Ghost Bell is better against Labyrinth and Valor is pretty lousy. No Material is not really worth playing, I don't think. I'm not really going to talk about it too much. Imperm is going to go up here in every deck. Essentially, Imperm is going to be really solid. Plays around the triple tactics cards. It's never dead. Like, even against Lab, you can do a little something. You can hit Ariana, kind of like Valor can, but Imperm's just better. Like, it's better as a 6th card drawn. It's better against Hydrant and Turbulence because you're not going to get hit with a Talents or a Thrust. It's better against Fire King. Just hitting the Grunix is actually not too terrible. So, or even hitting the Ponix is not too terrible. So yeah, I think that Imperm can be in the every deck section. It's not necessary. It's not as good as Ash or Shifter, so it's arguably in the generic and solid section. But you know, if there's one of these generic and solids that's going to move up, it's probably Imperm. Lancia is probably not worth it right now. I'm trying to think. So the fire decks don't really banish too much for their main combo. They banish for their follow-up. Well, actually, I guess Lancia, if you shotgun it, they can't summon Turbulence by banishing 2. But they can still get into Turbulence via Emergency, which is like, you know, then your Lancia is kind of wasted. Lancia is also not great into Labyrinth. So like, yeah, you stop their big welcome for a turn, like the graveyard effect of it. But yeah, not worth playing. Mourner is also not really worth playing. Like, the best application of this is going to be against Pearly, and that's, again, I think because of Pearly, we're going to scoot Imperm up. Like, Imperm is just so good into Pearly as well. But yeah, I don't think Mourner is worth playing. I think Valor is going to be a bit better than Mourner, and yeah, I think we can leave it as is. Nibiru is going to go up in the generic and solid. Like, Nibiru is really good into the fire decks, but not that, I mean, it's basically dead into Labyrinth. So we can keep it here, maybe even in the side for specific matchups section. It's between here and here. Like, I don't know. It kind of depends on your local meta, and you know, are they tending towards more of the combo decks or more control decks, and that will really decide on whether Nibiru is going in your main deck or not. I think it's more mainable than Droll is. I would rather main a Nib than Droll, just because it's more applicable. And I think it's a little more damaging to the fire deck specifically. But yeah, other than that, it's going to be okay. I think it's in generic and solid. Okay, Ogre. Ogre is solid into Pearly. It's bad into Lab. And into Fire Kings, it's kind of bad. Like, the best thing to hit in Fire King is going to be either the Snake Eye Ash or the Diabellstar, like the non-Fire King cards. Actually, no, it can hit Fire King Island, actually, right? Which is going to be kind of nice. But no, Fire King Island is protected by the other spell, so it's not that good into Fire King Island. And then into Rescue Ace, again, it's good into the Sinful Spoils package, but whatever. I don't think it's worth it. It's at the top of not worth it, though. Like, if you want to play it, it's not terrible, but it's not worth siding, and it's not, like, you're not going to be playing 18 hand traps. If you're playing 18 hand traps, maybe you can play Ogre, but otherwise, nah. Okay. Cherries, let me think here. Bad into Pearly, bad into... I mean, it's not terrible into Pearly, I guess. But into Rescue Ace is kind of dead. Into Fire Kings is kind of dead. Like, they don't even use their extra deck, really, so not worth it for sure. And then we have Phantasme. So Phantasme is actually more playable than you think into a lot of the decks. Like, even the Fire King deck and the Rescue Ace deck just link one into Linkuriboh pretty often, just to kind of like protect their Hydrant or Ponix from effect negation. So you can pretty consistently summon Phantasme into those decks, but a lot of times they won't do that. In Labyrinth, it's dead. In Pearly, it's kind of dead. So I think maybe side for specific matchups, Phantasme is going to be a little bit clutch, but otherwise, it's not going to be too great. And that kind of leaves us at Ashen Imperm. Kind of is pretty similar to where we were before last format, except Bell is going to be up a bit, and then Nib is going to be down a bit, because we don't have Unchained to worry about with Nib. I mean, we don't have Unchained that Nib beats anymore, so Nib is kind of like lousy. It might even be in the sides for specific matchup section, but yeah, in the top we have Ashen Imperm still. In the generic and solid, if you want a third or fourth or fifth hand trap, we have Bell, Valor, and Nib, and then we have Droll and Bisteels in the side, where Dogwood goes in the side if you're playing Runics, because you'll probably go into time a little bit more often, and then Phantasme is always a solid side choice if you're playing against a Link deck. And then all these cards are not really worth it. I think Ogre is like, it's got potential. It's got potential. It might be up here, but otherwise, all of these cards are pretty lousy. Like Crow, I don't think is worth playing. I really don't think, at least. Like against Fire King, it's okay. Against Rescue Ace, it's pretty bad. Against Lab, it's okay, but like it's not game breaking. So yeah, I think it's down here still. Yeah, and that'll wrap up the Handtrap tier list for the January 2024 format. We'll see how this changes going forward, you know, especially with the new cards coming out. Bonfire, Transaction Rollback. Maybe Transaction Rollback will bump Crow up a little bit. I'm not sure. And then with Phantom Nightmare, we'll redo this whole tier list, because who knows what the meta will be then. All right, we'll catch you guys later. Hope you guys enjoy. Subscribe if you're enjoying the content. Leave a like, comment below if you think, you know, if I've lost it, if my tier list is totally off, and I will catch you guys in the next one. See ya.